To start out with how I think that this class has advanced me as a public speaker, I think it's taught me to be more comfortable around my audience. At first I was really fidgety and rocked a lot, and I didn't make eye contact with my audience, but I learned to do that a lot better. Most important concept from my textbook would be from the second chapter on page 13, which is about how to combat speech anxiety and all that stuff, and it taught me that I just need to practice a lot and slow down and know my material, and then I'd be a lot more comfortable. I would recommend stopping the video blogs because I'm just not a fan. I don't really know if they're really beneficial or not. I would maybe start giving telling us what our grade is throughout the semester, since we have to go through and calculate it all, and that's kind of confusing. And yeah, and I would continue obviously the speeches, and I liked how we did a rough draft of an outline and a final draft of an outline, because that really helped, and all of your comments really helped too. For the ceremonial speech, the purpose was to honor someone that we thought was beneficial to our world or our lives. To make sure my speaker ethos was high and to make sure I was credible, I used a lot of sources that were credible. My speech was about Walt Disney, so I used a lot of his sponsored websites that his company owns. My technology was good with my audio and clarity, but I realized once I submitted it that part of it had been cut out, so that was a difficulty I had. So obviously I could have used a different recording advice so that maybe that wouldn't have happened. In terms of structure and organization, I think that I did well on my body paragraphs because those come naturally with all the things that I find in my research. But the intro and conclusion have always been a little harder for me. I considered my audience when developing my speech by finding interesting facts that they may not know and finding things that they thought would be interesting. And my audience did think it was interesting. I had my two friends who were going to Disney World with me, so they thought it was really interesting. For my means of pathos, I used sympathy and empathy to make my audience relate to Walt Disney and the things that he had gone through. And I do feel comfortable using emotion in my speech because I'm a pretty emotional person. What worked in my speech was, I think it was really interesting and my audience enjoyed it a lot. What didn't work was obviously my technology. So what I could improve on, it was kind of odd for me to move from side to side and use my hands and gestures, but I did do that more in this speech, but I still think there's room for improvement. And then to connect my learned experiences, I would say definitely chapter 6, around page 39, which is how we researched and found our sources, and that was really helpful for me to make sure that my sources were credible